Coming up on Network Africa, former Prime Minister Abdelmadjid Tebboune wins the presidential election with 58% of the vote. Libyan military strongman General Khalifa Haftar calls on his forces to begin an advance aimed at capturing the capital, Tripoli. Plus, wife of Sudan's ousted President Omar al-Bashir, Widad Babike, is summoned for questioning over possession of land and bank accounts. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. Algeria National Electoral Body says Abdelmadjid Tebboune has won the presidential election with 58% of the vote. Quoting preliminary results, it also confirmed that voter turnout was just 40%, the lowest ever for a multi-party election in Algeria. The polls had been boycotted by people in the protest movement who said all the candidates were too close to former President Abdelaziz Bouteflika and wanted the political establishment swept away for a new kind of politics. The 74-year-old former prime minister rose from a long career as a civil servant to become prime minister in 2017, but lasted just 7 months because of a conflict with influential businessmen. He also served as housing minister and information minister. Kenya is still reeling in sorrow over the deaths of at least 50 people as a result of a mudslide last month. Residents in the northwest region held a mass funeral service for victims of the disaster that hit the region, triggered by unusually heavy rains.
A community in mourning in Kenya's West Pokot County. Relatives, government officials, and members of the public gathered at the stadium to honor and bury the victims of a devastating mudslide. More than 50 people were killed in November after unusually heavy rains triggered landslides and flooding.
Over 50 people dead, including those that we cannot trace. There are about 16 people buried in the sand, in the soils. We still hope, together with the combined efforts of national government and the county government and friends and the NGOs, we should be able to trace them. So here today we are releasing these people. From tomorrow, patrols will go on in the various areas. We want to thank the international community for those who responded.
Ronald Rotich survived, but some members of his family were not so lucky.
I found the house had been washed away. We went there and only the roof was visible. We removed the roof, we found clothes, we found shoes of the two boys, then we found more clothes and a blanket buried in the mud. We dug out the mud and found my nephews had died.
Researchers have warned that warming oceans are causing unpredictable weather patterns in East Africa. Kenya is experiencing a heavier than usual rainy season, the country's meteorological department said in early November.
People living in the western equatorial town of Yambio now have access to justice through the initiation of a mobile court in the area, which is expected to hear more than 100 cases by the end of the year. South Sudan's civil war has killed almost 400,000 people since 2013, about half dying from violent injuries. Combatants on all sides have perpetrated serious human rights abuses, including gang rape, abduction, sexual slavery of women and girls, and recruitment of children.
The initiative between United Nations Mission in South Sudan and the United Nations Development Program, the mobile courts, aim to bring justice to parts of the country, like Yambio, where the legal system has been neglected after decades of conflict. Some of the suspects have waited for years without trial. Richard Nimeri, whose case is currently being heard, is grateful that he'll soon get justice. His case had been delayed since 2017.
My case had taken about 3 years now, but I'm happy now that we have a judge from Juba. Sometimes, injustice may cause bad things. People will start taking revenge. Therefore, I'm very grateful to UNMISS and the government for bringing us a judge to solve our problems.
The main reason for the hold-up of the cases is due to the absence of judges who'd fled the area since conflict erupted in the western Equatorial Guinea in 2016. Judge Angelo Daniel used to try cases in Yambio before the conflict. He relocated to the country's capital, Juba, but is now back as one of the judges launching the mobile courts.
Part of the UNMISS mandate to protect civilians is to ensure accountability for serious crimes, including SGBV and CRSV. And so one of the things that UNMISS, together with UNDP, have been trying to do is to support these kinds of mobile courts so that they are able to go to places where one or more of the justice sector is either missing or needs additional support to be able to ensure access to justice to the most vulnerable people.
Some of the cases expected to be heard before the close of the year include rape, murder, and theft cases.
The wife of Sudan's ousted President Omar al-Bashir, Widad Babika, has been summoned for questioning over possession of land and bank accounts. Mrs. Babika, who has been under house arrest since the ousting of her husband on April 11, was taken to the prosecution office on Thursday, and reports say it is unlikely that she will be released soon. Another news site, Al Ain, reports that Mrs. Babika was taken to Omdurman National Women's Prison after the questioning. She was questioned over charges related to corruption in possession, residential land plots, real estate, and bank accounts. Now let's get more on this from the VOA's correspondent in Khartoum, Naba Mohidin. Thank you for joining us. First off, media reports differ as to where her location is. Help us get clarity on where the former president's wife is.
She is accused with illegal prosperity, and right now she is in illegal prosperity prosecution in Khartoum, after being in house arrest in northern Khartoum. And the prosecutor said she will not be free till the investigations end. And she is accused of owning residential land, charity organization, and big bank with the big credits.
Now she has been summoned, and you've mentioned the charges she is accused of. What is likely to be her fate if convicted?
If she is convicted, she will be tried and she will probably go to jail, and the money should be restored to Sudan's central bank, probably. And also she would lead to the other corruption network in the Bashir family.
Now, this is coming a few days after her husband was also investigated over his role in the coup that brought him into power in 1989. What is the update with that investigation?
The investigation lasted for 2 hours because al-Bashir firstly refused to be investigated with till his defense came. And after the investigation, he was sent back to the jail where he is now, and his verdict tomorrow. And a committee was formed out of members of the Sovereign Council and the Ministers' Council to submit result out of this investigation within 3 months. And also a lot of regime symbols were arrested, accusing them with making 1989 coup. Most of them are from the Islamic Front, which is
Yeah, Naba, before I let you go, Khartoum prosecutors also summoned 3 of the most prominent leaders of the former regime. I assume citizens are, keeping a close eye on this development. What have they been saying? What have you been hearing from the streets? How are they reacting to all that is happening?
People are optimistic that the other accused people might be brought to justice or they might be tried. Also, people are watching closely of the updates and go to the public prosecution every day, protesting about the new results. And actually, it's they lifted immunity out of the killers of the victims' killers, the 3 of them. But people are so optimistic about the justice generally, In the same time, they think it's very slow steps towards the democratic change and towards the real participation in the democratic process, because people are seeking for the justice. Since al-Bashir ouster, they seek for the justice for the victims, killers, and for the people who made the corruption and made crimes against the pro-democracy protesters.
All right, Naba Mohidin, VOA's correspondent in Khartoum, thank you so much for joining us.